Chapter 7 Nightmare. I told Charlie I had a lot of homework to do and that I didn't want anything to eat. There was a basketball game on that he was excited about, though of course I had no idea what was special about it, so he wasn't aware of anything unusual in my face or tone. Once in my room, I locked the door. I dug through my desk until I found my old headphones, and I plugged them into my little CD player. I picked up the CD that Phil had given me for Christmas. It was one of his favorite bands, but they used a little bit too much bass and shrieking for my taste. I popped it into place and lay down on my bed. I put on the headphones, hit play, and turned up the volume until it hurt my ears. I closed my eyes, but the light still intruded, so I added a pillow over the top half of my face. I concentrated very carefully on the music, trying to understand the lyrics to unravel the complicated drum patterns. By the third time I listened to the CD, I knew all the words to the choruses at least. It was surprised to find that I really did like the band after all, once I got past the blaring noise. I'd have to thank Phil again. And it worked. The shattering beats made it impossible for me to think, which was the whole purpose of the exercise. I listened to the CD again and again until I was singing along with all the songs, until finally I fell asleep. I opened my eyes to a familiar place, aware in some corner of my consciousness that I was dreaming. I recognized the green light of the forest. I could hear the waves crashing against the rocks somewhere nearby, and I knew that if I found the ocean, I'd be able to see the sun. I was trying to follow the sound, but then Jacob Black was there, tugging my hand, pulling me back toward the blackest part of the forest. "Jacob, what's wrong?" I asked. His face was frightened as he yanked with all his strength against my resistance. I didn't want to go into the dark. "Run, Bella, you have to run," he whispered, terrified. "This way, Bella." I recognized my voice calling out of the gloomy heart of the tree, but I couldn't see him. "Why?" I asked, still pulling against Jacob's grasp, desperate now to find the sun. But Jacob let go of my hand and yelped, suddenly shaking, falling to the dim forest floor. He twitched on the ground as I watched in horror. "Jacob!" I screamed, but he was gone. In his place was a large, bright, red-brown wolf with black eyes. The wolf faced away from me, pointing toward the shore, the hair on the back of his shoulders bristling, low growls issuing between his exposed fangs. "Bella, run!" Mike cried again from out behind me, but I didn't turn. I was watching a light coming toward me from the beach, and then Edward stepped out from the trees, his skin faintly glowing, his eyes black and dangerous. He held up one hand and beckoned me to come to him. The wolf growled at my feet. I took a step forward toward Edward. He smiled then. His teeth were sharp, pointed. "Trust me," he purred. I took another step. The wolf launched itself across the space between me and the vampire, fangs aiming for the jugular. "No!" I screamed, wrenching upright out of my bed. My sudden movement caused the headphones to pull the CD player off the bedside table, and it clattered to the wooden floor. My light was still on, and I was sitting fully dressed on the bed with my shoes on. I glanced disoriented at the clock on my dresser. It was 5:30 in the morning. I groaned, fell back, and rolled over onto my face, kicking off my boots. I was too uncomfortable to get anywhere near sleep, though. I rolled back over and unbuttoned my jeans, yanking them off awkwardly as I tried to stay horizontal. I could feel the braid in my hair, an uncomfortable ridge along the back of my skull. I turned onto my side and ripped the rubber band out, quickly combing through the plaits with my fingers. I pulled the pillow back over my eyes. It was all no use, of course. My subconscious had dredged up exactly the images I'd been trying so desperately to avoid. I was going to have to face them now. I sat up. My head spun for a minute as the blood flowed downward. First things first, I thought to myself, happy to put off as long as possible. I grabbed my bathroom bag. The shower didn't last nearly as long as I hoped it would, though. Even taking time to blow dry my hair, I was soon out of things to do in the bathroom. I wrapped in a towel. I crossed back to my room. I couldn't tell if Charlie was still asleep or if he'd already left. I went to look out my window, and the cruiser was gone, fishing again. I dressed slowly in most comfy sweats and made my bed. something I never did. I couldn't put it off any longer. I went to my desk and switched on the old computer. I hated using the internet here. My modem was sadly outdated. My free service standard just dialing up took so long that I decided to give myself a bowl of cereal while I waited. I ate slowly, chewing each bite with care. When I was done, I washed the bowl and spoon, dried them, and put them away. My feet dragged as I climbed the stairs. I went to my CD player first, picking it up off the floor and placing it precisely in the center of the table. I pulled out the headphones and put them away in the desk drawer. Then I turned on the same CD, turning it down to the point where it was background noise. With another sigh, I turned on my computer. Naturally, the screen was covered in pop-up ads. I sat in a hard folding chair and began closing all the little windows. Eventually, I made it to my favorite search engine. I shot down a few more pop-up ads and then typed in one word: vampire. It took an infuriating long time, of course. When the results came up, there was a lot to sift through. Everything from movies and TV shows to role-playing games, underground metal, and gothic cosmetic companies. Then I found a promising site, Vampires A through Z. I waited impatiently for it to load, clicking close each ad that flashed across the screen. Finally, the screen was finished. Simple white background with black text, academic looking. Two quotes greeting me on the home page. Throughout the vast shadowy world of ghosts and demons, there is no figure so terrible, no figure so dreaded and abhorred, yet dight with such fearful fascination as the vampire, who is himself neither ghost nor demon, but yet who partakes in the dark natures and possesses the mysterious and terrible qualities of both. Reverend Montague Summers. If there is in this world a well-attested account, it is that of the vampire. Nothing is lacking. Official reports, affidavits of well-known people, surgeons, of priests, of magistrates. The judicial proof is most complete, and with all that, who is there who believes in vampires? Rousseau. The rest of the site was an alphabetized listing of all the different myths of vampires held throughout the world. The first I clicked on, the Danag, was a Filipino vampire supposedly responsible for planting taro on the islands long ago. The myth continued that the Danag worked with humans for many years, but the partnership ended one day when a woman cut her finger and a Danag sucked her wound, enjoying the taste so much that it drained her body completely of blood. I went carefully through the description, looking for anything that sounded familiar, let alone plausible. It seemed that most vampire myths centered around beautiful women as demons and children as victims. They also seemed like constructs created to explain away the high mortality rates for young children, and to give men an excuse for infidelity. Many of the stories involved bodiless spirits and warnings against improper burials. There wasn't much that sounded like movies I'd seen, and only a very few, like the Hebrew Estri and the Polish Upier, who even were preoccupied with drinking blood. Only 3 entries really caught my attention. The Romanian Vercolaci, a powerful undead being who could appear as a beautiful pale-skinned human. The Slovak Naopsi, a creature so strong and fast that it can massacre an entire village in a single hour after midnight. And one other, the Strigoni Benefici.